Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Forgive me, I'm not going to be looking to the eye because I don't know where the eye part is. But let's have this conversation. I want to talk about Black American Muslim um, moral psychology. Okay, now remember when I was talking about compartmentalization? In order to understand our condition and apply Sharia guidelines, Sharia guidance to our situation, you have to compartmentalize just about everything because it runs the same circle that fiqh runs. For example, understanding, okay, what Islam does, amongst many things, is that it gives definition to every part of your life. It gives uh, it gives us it gives order or potential order to every part of your lives. It gives specific definition, specific understanding, but within that, Islam gives you your freedom of thought, freedom of movement, freedom of learning, freedom of evolving. That's just the way mankind is. You know, people talk about the Sahaba, and I'm going to get to the Black American moral psychology in a minute, but it's not that simple. Number one, um, this is a socio-religious scholarly discipline that deals specifically with Black American descendants of slaves who have converted to Islam and their generations. That is a specific um, that's a specific demographic group. I say it's a specific new civilization that is by itself as a people, as a shab. Okay, now Allah says, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We have made you into peoples and tribes in order to know you. Now, because we're descendants of slaves, and because of a lot of other factors, there's there's no civilizational placement for Black Americans, especially when it comes to Islam. It's like all it is okay, you're black, Bilal was black, no racism in Islam, and just join the party. Y'all like us, blah blah blah. But in reality, the issue of marginalization, of racism, of misunderstanding of Islam, of a modernized version of Islam where the objectives are different than the maqasid of the Sharia. When a modernized version where the objectives of being Muslim are different from the objectives of being Muslim in our scripture, and this is why you have to understand Black American moral psychology and where it has been and where it has been aborted in lieu of a different moral psychology that is not consistent with our teachings. Now, some of this you're going to have to maybe look at this video 2, 3, 4 times because this is an uncharted area. This is a scholarly discipline of study that we have yet to embark on, mainly because the general understanding, like I said, the group thought we talked about the group thought of things, where you have a group psychology of a certain part of your civilization, and everybody kind of accepts it, but nobody actually studied it. Nobody actually lined that group psychology up with Sharia law, and this is the situation with the Black American Muslim. Okay, because we are civilizationally irrelevant. Okay, and these are terms that you have to understand. You may not get it the first time. A lot of people aren't going to get it the first time. But if you think about it, if you think about it, giving the latitude that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to think in, and given the moral, legal, theological standards that Allah has set in terms of truth telling, and knowing your condition, being aware of zulm, being aware of oppression, being aware of falsehood. This is the whole idea of being Muslim, is to be guided by the truth. Okay, so it's hard to get this conversation, especially if your view of Islam has been altered or kind of been nurtured by the show me type Islam that we have made a priority for almost the last 20 years. So some of the conversation is going to be shocking. Some of it is going to be above people's comprehension at the time. Some of it is going to be, it's just too much thinking involved. Right now, we are like pretty much on the show me Islam, where the focus is in America that the dominant conversation is about Islamophobia, about the white supremacists now, about immigration, of course, but going back to the ethical part of being a Muslim. The reason why people convert to Islam in the first place is to obey Allah. Is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is to make decisions and have a moral outlook based upon kitab. The Prophet has said, alayhi salam, and this is in the Sahih, he said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يكون هواه تبعا لما جئت به. None of you have believed until his hawa. Now you're talking about his psychology, his thinking pattern, his outlook, his moral outlook, his hawa. Okay? We're not talking about what a person does. We're not talking about sins here. Okay? Physical sins like you're stealing, fornication. That's bad too. That's a different discussion. We're talking about the psychology behind it, because it's a different thing to sin, knowing that, hey, this is my weakness, this is wrong, I need to make tawbah. No. Stealing is haram. That is the fitra psychology of a Muslim based upon scripture. Of course, there are fiqh issues that come in, you're starving and there's a piece of, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the general understanding of halal and haram. Like the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, إن حلال بين وإن حرام بين وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس ومن اتقى الشبهات فقد استبرأ لدينه وعرضه ومن وقع في الشبهات وقع في الحرام. I'm not going to explain the whole hadith because we don't need the whole hadith for this discussion, but from the beginning of it, the Prophet said, إن حلال verily the halal is clear, verily the haram is clear, and between them are umurun mushtabahatun, or things that are ambiguous, maybe difference of opinion, maybe not quite clear, or maybe not quite clear. La ya'lamuhunna kathirun min nas. Most people don't know, right? But he's saying that the bulk of the religion is clear. Inna halala bayinun wa inna harama bayinun. Okay, take that, because that's going to be thrown into, that's your fitra version of a moral psychology, is based upon that, based upon the clarity of the religion in the major issues. This is the whole idea of being Muslim. You don't become Muslim and then it take you another 20 years to get guided. No, you're guided to Islam from the beginning, especially for a convert. So you're already starting off with a certain amount of moral certitude that brings you into Islam, because you're bearing witness from the beginning, and then you're also coming in with a certain amount of for lack of a better word, and maybe we might make this a term, fitralized Islam. Islam is based on fitra. Right? That you're close to, when you convert to Islam, you're very close to the fitra, because Allah just guided you, and all your sins are forgiven. Okay, and so, from that perspective, a person comes into Islam and they're thinking like the hadith says, مَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَاجْتَنِبُوا. And this is also a Sahih hadith in Sahih Muslim. مَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْهُ فَاجْتَنِبُوا وَمَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِهِ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ فَإِنَّمَا أَهْلَكَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ كَثْرَةُ مَسَائِلِهِمْ وَاخْتِلَافُهُمْ مَعَ أَنْبِيَائِهِمْ. He says that what I have forbade you from doing, stay away from it, and what I have commanded you to do, and that's very important, because that goes into the fitra moral psychology. to minhu masata'atum, do of it what you were able to do, like the Prophet said, and Allah even says in several verses, fattaqullaha masata'atum wasma'u wa ati'u. He says, fear Allah to the degree that you can. Okay, because we're thinking that Islam is everybody running around being a perfect Muslim and just jumping on any point that we see where there's a defect. Astaghfirullah, you're not a good Muslim because you're not a good Muslim, and you may not be a good Muslim, and you can. No, that is not what Islam is about. That is called a distorted moral psychology. If you think that the companions of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, who conquered Persia, who conquered Egypt, who brought Islam by the Prophet's message to a third of the known world, the idea of justice to women, and fairness, and order, contractual order, which I said in another video, everything is contractual. Okay, if you think they were just sitting around saying, oh, you ain't Muslim, oh, let's do a... They didn't have Facebook. Let's do a community tribunal on this one. No, when they did that, that was in the court of law. That was following the standards of Islam. Probably, judging, there were, you have rules, you have civilizational rules in Islam that contribute to your moral psychology. For example, I mean, it's like a zillion examples. So I don't want you to get bogged down any, because like I said, like we have this stuff, the study of the Black American Muslim convert, not just black, but the American, the indigenous Islam. I'm not talking about the immigrant Islam. I'm talking about the indigenous Islam of people who have that generational history in America. And if you're descendants of slaves, it's even more specific. That's Am and Khas. This is part of Islam. This is part of understanding Muslim civilization, and it goes into your moral psychology. Okay, so it might take me a few videos, and then the problem with the whole thing, because Black American moral psychology has been skewed. It is colonized, it's been controlled, it's been taken off the kilter to a great degree. And it's different from when people first came in. People convert to Islam to worship Allah, to be Muslim, to submit. Okay, the whole stuff about the Show Me Islam, the whole stuff about, because technology evolves and Shaitan goes where the technology goes. Duh. I mean, you're not like, well, I'm Shaitan, I'm going to wait over here in the masjid, and, when you get off of Facebook, then I can... No, it's like, dude, where you at? I'm there. I'm there with you. Okay? So when you see things like, when you see public inquisition of an individual, even sometimes an issue, by the group of Islam, the group of Muslims, like by the hundreds of thousands or whatever numbers, public inquisition of an individual, even non-Muslim. Oh, he's not a good guy. I mean, that kind of stuff is absurd, okay? Because it doesn't have a Sharia, objective here. There's nothing in the law that says that this is the path to take, and we go too far because it's like we're driving down a dark street without no kind of direction. This is not the way that Muslim civilizations act or respond. This is just not the fitra. This is something that's contrived based upon other considerations, political expediency, programming, a whole bunch of other stuff, and that goes into your moral psychology. But because of marginalization, racism, and some of our own doing, just as general assumption in Islam, I mean, not in Islam, but in the Muslim world and domestically, the same thing, that black Muslims, your civilization is not worth studying. There's nothing specific. Even all your memory, all your feelings, all of your emotions, and the history that happened before you became Muslim, that's irrelevant. Because now you're Muslim, and now you're just going to follow that over here. Okay? And that's just making too many false assumptives, And then it's a game thing. Okay? That goes into Black American, Muslim moral psychology. Okay? And you're just going to have to... This is a conversation that Allah, you have to you just can't be stupid and follow it, because if you're stupid, you're not gonna be able to follow it unless you stop being stupid. Some things are just beyond. Uh, okay, so let's get back to it, because I want you to understand it. But the best way for me, and this is the way I do it. The best way for me, not being in the masjid now, if I'm in the masjid, you kind of teach differently, but I'm kind of teaching from a revolutionary perspective, because there is only one God, and we only worship Allah. We should only answer to Allah, specifically in religious affairs. I'm not talking about obeying the laws of the state or not, blah, blah, blah. That's another whole contractual situation. I'm talking about you as a Muslim who's trying to go to the Jannah. Allah is your guide. And so you have to literally dismiss certain parts of imposed colonial psychology that's superimposed on your being, and you become that vicarious Muslim that lives Islam through somebody else's reality. That is absolute bullshit. There's no way. I mean, now I didn't have to use that word. But I did tell you that we are doing a revolution, right? Okay. So, of course, it's going to be some kind of harsh words. But I want you to understand it as a science. But not in a way that you get all super pseudo-intellectual about it, because we can do that, and I can break it down like that. And it is like that because it's very interesting. We live in a time, we're living in the last days. So it's like how to navigate last days, Dajjalism, and then you have a whole Muslim population who have totally, like this is what Dajjalism is, who have totally reversed the maqasid of civilizational religion for Muslims, from being not from pleasing Allah, but just getting accepted by the goddamn state. That's deep. So the whole conversation is deep. Okay, so for me, it has to be a conversation first. Okay, I'm not trying to write reports and research. I got tons of research. I got tons of material. I got it compartmentalized down to a T, but just in writing. Okay, because it's something I made part of my life. I was born Muslim. I was raised Muslim. Been around Muslims all my life. I've been involved in Islam without stop. Not perfect Muslim, but I had never been absent ever. There's no time in my whole life when somebody says, "Where's Lookman?" No, he over there. There you go. Never. I don't know where he don't know. He in California. Okay, don't make me better. Everything's not for everybody. We all find our way by the grace of Allah, that He gives us a way to seek salvation. In the هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله. Like Allah says, in the هذه تذكرة, verily this is just a reminder. فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا. And so whoever wants, let him find a path to his Lord. Okay, and so the understanding of our civilization and defending our civilization from extinction, and the standing up, trying to hold fast in our corner of the world while we're being marginalized, oppressed from both sides, double-edged slavery, all kind of shit they done got on us. I'm not blaming anybody, but in the midst of that, there still has to be people who are saying, no, we're pushing back, and put the voice out there so other people know to push back. I'm seeing sisters pushing back. For a minute, it was like you had to accept that if you're really talking Quran and Sunnah, you're an extremist. No, I think we should live according to the Quran. No, because you're not giving the woman the rights and the freedom and the understanding and the faith. And see, it's oppressive, and we buying that shit. Not that we buying it, but the dominant Muslim population has bought it because they're new to America and they do not understand civilizational navigation as a religious people. I mean, they a little bit, but they're used to conquering. In the Muslim world, you conquer shit. Okay, you don't really have that discussion. Scholars do, but now everybody got to have that little discussion about whether homosexuality is accepted or not, and whether we should this, and whether we should be on Islamophobia or Black Lives Matter or the feminist thing or what Muslim rights and women's rights and all that kind of stuff. But it's a polluted conversation, okay? Because we already have our guidance. That's what I'm saying. If you're Muslim, you already have the guidance. That's why I say that, we can have this conversation just dealing with, civilizational fiqh, just law, stuff that's not even legal. Like when you do a public, when you do a public inquisition of a person, they're not even there, and you already made the decision, this is the group decision, he's bad, and blah, 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 that stuff is haram. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم عسى أن يكونوا خير منهم ولا نساء من نساء عسى أن يكون خير منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس اسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان. Okay, and it's in Surah Al-Hujurat. O you who believe, let not one people ridicule other people, for verily they may be better than them. We know that. And in the same surah, Allah says, "Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum." Verily, the most honorable to Allah has the one has the most piety. Then Allah says, "Wattaqullah wa ya'alimukum Allah." Taqwa of Allah, Allah teaches you. So there is no limit. You can't say that this civilization has only a certain amount of intellectual worth and this one has more. Or you can't have brains of not innovative thinking, but just using. It's not innovative thinking. It's just traditional thinking. Okay, modern Muslim thinking is restricted. It's restricted. You can only think in this sphere. You cannot go outside of that. For different reasons, some political reasons, some colonial reasons, some financial reasons, some because you're just freaking scared. If you're new to America, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, watch what you say. First of all, you ain't got your green card yet. That's real. Not for everybody, but I'm saying these things go into your moral psychology. You can't say it doesn't. I mean, that's what frustrates me. Like, dude, really, we gotta have this conversation? But hey, I'm not perfect, and this maybe have a conversation that you have to walk people through, but it's not really a conversation. It's a revolution. That's my point. I'm not talking about the floor dirty just so it can stay dirty. Floor dirty, man. We need some bleach and some Pine Sol and some matter of fact, they got several layers of the floor. Let's take this. Oh my God, what did they do back here in 1957? This is, that's just the way Muslims are supposed to think. So, one, it has to be a conversation for me at this juncture. Later on, we'll do, we don't have any funding. They're not going to fund this. Nobody's going to really fund this. We have to fund this kind of stuff ourselves, and we have to do it on the cheap because we're not trying to we're taking advantage of the fact that we live in the United States of America, and this is a country where you don't have to tear down shit in order to do stuff. You don't have to fight all the time. This is in house. See, here's the thing. Now, this is deep. How much time we spend? We 23 minutes. This is part of the intro, okay? Because I want to explain Black American moral psychology to Black Americans and Latino Americans. Y'all know who I'm talking about. American Muslims who converted to Islam. We a different civilization altogether. So I'm not really trying to teach it to no intellectuals. People are going to pick this up, and they're picking up now because these are new sciences. We do not have the funding to do advanced research and really present the facts in a big way where people can see it, where it's widespread, where it's presented in a good presentation. We don't have that kind of stuff. And people, when we start talking about Black American moral psychology, they're going to be people who do have researchers and universities. I just saw something in New York about, the Black American Muslim need to be studied. This is like 2 weeks after they had the Black American Muslim Conference. Now, y'all niggas wasn't even talking about no Black American nothing, but now you see, oh, that might be interesting. And you create a field of study and you apply funding towards it, but you make sure that the people who are directly affected aren't the people who are doing the study, because they're afraid still. People are still afraid of what would happen if there was a higher level of intellectual existence on a civilizational level, because of the newness of the environment, of new Muslims that's pumping new blood. And if you apply the Quran and the Sunnah to a new civilization that's not bogged down by whatever that may not be necessarily bad for the people who come with it, which is your culture, your tradition, your inadequacies as a civilization, your history. Maybe you're marginalization. Maybe you were colonized for 200 years. You don't think that has an effect on people's psychology? And they come to America, you think that all that colonization and stuff that happened in their countries, and the devastation and destruction and the put down, y'all ain't shit, all that, for whatever, how long it lasted, you think that still does not, there's no, there's no PTSD for that? There is. So if that becomes what's teaching you as a new Muslim, you're not getting Quran and Sunnah direct. You're getting through. I'm not talking about interpretation and that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about denying fiqh, denying tafsir, understanding. But I'm just saying, we're not having a conversation in that context. We're not having a conversation about Islam in terms of traditional knowledge. We're talking about political expediency, man. We're talking about Islamophobia, a made-up concept, made-up thing, and they're trying to conflate it with racism, which is a sin. Islamophobia is a sin? How can that be a sin? To hate what you... It might be kufr. It could be. Greater concern. You're like, hey, I'm going to stop you from hating Muslims. Dude, I'm going to stop... Dude, what's that? We need to stop you from hating Muslims. That's what we need to do. We need to get you to see Muslims in a different light. Like, where is the spiritual? Where's the thawab in that? If you say, hey, we're trying to invite you to be, we're going to dismiss the kufr stuff in a nice way, because Islam is the truth. No, but we hate. Okay, well, fine. Well, Islam is so much the truth that when you say that, our Lord said, He said, وَاللَّرَنِي وَالْمَكَذِّبِينَ أُولِي النَّعْمَةِ وَمَهِّلْهُمْ قَلِيلًا. He says, leave me alone with those people who reject the faith and who have financial wherewithal. وَمَهِّلْهُمْ قَلِيلًا. Let's leave them alone for a while. فَعَرِضْ عَنْهُمْ. Not that, no, you must believe that we're not bad people. I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just saying that is a different moral psychology, and it's not the one that people signed up for when they became Muslim. Okay? And so the whole, okay, take it as a conversation. Just as long as you have to follow me. You have to not follow me, but follow what I'm saying. If you don't, okay, just follow what I'm saying. Okay? Because it's real and it's true. And it's like I said, the revolution is scripturally based, ethical. We use verses to support our thesis. Okay? But you have to understand that that's a different moral psychology. Different. For example, now I'm not trying to say immigrant. No, I'm just saying that you have a group of people who were guided to Islam by Allah from the door, walking in. I'm in this, Allah guided me, I'm over here, I'm Muslim. And then you have a people who come, we're a Muslim, but you really wasn't sold on Islam, you're getting sold on it. And then when you get sold on it, you don't know how far to go. Some people are beyond that, but they say, hey, I didn't practice the same time I got here. Well, we were practicing the same the whole time we became Muslim. Or at least believing Allah is the truth. Okay? And so you have a different moral psychology that has evolved. And now you have two Muslim Americas. You have two different moral psychology. It is overlap, and there is conceptual agreement. We all agree we follow Islam, Allah is God, blah, 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 as long as we don't get into too much detail. But yeah, we agree to that, conceptually. But in terms of our real psychology, our actionable or actionated psychology as Muslims, there is a difference. There's like 1,000 examples. I'm gonna give you one, and we're still 20. Okay, I'm gonna go for 5 more minutes, and we're gonna call this video "Introduction to American Muslim Moral Psychology," or American Muslim Moral Psychology 101, Class 1. Okay? Because I'm going to see it through, inshallah ta'ala. And this is just because we're in a revolution. Okay? So you have two different moral psychologies: perspective on Islam, actionable psychology, how you act, and behavioral responses based upon your moral psychology as a Muslim. This is the giddy, right? And so sometimes okay, two different. For example, amongst converts, it's incredulous. None of us could get away with it. If I open up, this is Abu Mariam's liquor store, smoke shop, man, everybody is, hey man, what the fuck is wrong with you? Hey man, I'm going crazy. What? They call my father, but they make it dua to my, How can you stop? How can you do that to your people? Whatever, all kind of haram. Yeah, I got it all. But an immigrant can do it, and you don't have the same amount of outrage. That's because you have a colonialized moral psychology that you hold yourselves up to standards sometimes beyond what is required by Allah. Yet, the people who actually more egregious behavior, outrageous stuff, like what the, like yes, almost every we're all one religion and whatever. You don't have the same outrage. That's connected to a lot of stuff. The marginalization, colonialization, slave mentality, and then you have a Muslim population who's maybe not ready to even deal with it and bring it to any kind of justice standard because you're trying to still get accepted. Scholars, they don't know what to say. Okay? Because they're not on the, they're learning. So, but it's still two different moral psychologies. So, we have to define where we are and what it is. And we're the moral psychology of the Muslim, of the Black American, Latino American. I'm not forgetting about none of y'all. We all Americans, but you understand that there are some, there's even sub-compartments. And anybody that understands about law and Islam know that you compartmentalize civilizations and people in order to have the law applied in the right doses for the right situation, because we're all different. That's why there's a difference between the salat of the Musafir and the salat of the Muqim. Because what was that? Because the Musafir is different than the Muqim, so the ahkam and muta'allika bihim is different. That's just the way it is. To the sick or the strong. Even in Ramadan's getting ready to come up. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فِعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Whoever is sick or traveling, then he can make it later, because so the hukum is different. So you can't have a psychological view of the responsibility and what constitutes a error as far as the muqim, and the same thing goes for the musafir, because if the muqim who's sahir, he's healthy, and he say, man, listen, I'm healthy and nothing stop me from fasting except this doggone cheeseburger, and it ain't gonna stop me no more. Bismillah. Okay, that's haram. Because the standards, the legal standards of compliance for for submission, which is the objective that we submit to Allah, to His word, is different from the one who's musafir. Musafir, you know what? I'm thinking about fasting. I'm gonna try to fast. The only thing stopping me from fasting is this big loud cheeseburger right here. You know what? Bismillah, he gonna stop me. And it's okay. Because that's a rukhsah. That's a dispensation. So I'm just trying to say that, understanding Black American moral psychology and how it works to our salvation and our liberation and our survival as a people is very, very important. It's just that we're not important to people as a civilization. Not yet. Okay, and so we're going to stop here. Think about it, and you watch this several times, because another issue that we have to do is that people try to copy everything I say. I understand why. Okay, so we put the stuff out there, and somebody takes it and they want to try to own it, but they don't understand it in the clinical fashion that it needs to be understood in order to help our people. Okay, and I don't like that kind of stuff. But anyway, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك ونشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت ونستغفرك ونتوب إليك. This is Imam Luqman Ahmed. This is introduction to Black American Muslim moral psychology. Long word to make sure that this is the first video that's dealing with it specifically, but it may take 2 or 3 introductory videos. And sometimes you need a lot of introduction to explain something. That's just the way of traditional knowledge. You know, that's why even, you know, imams of the Salaf, they went through the process of explaining things in detail. Okay, it's not fast food. We're dealing with a really important topic. You know, Ibn Taymiyyah's book on your book on Aqidah. What's it? Al-Aqidah al-Tahawiyah. You know, that was no. Anyway, I can't remember right now. But many ulama, they write introductions to what they're going to say, so you can help understand the text that's coming later. Everybody does that. I'm not a scholar in that kind of way. I'm just saying that that's just a tradition of learning, of teaching, especially when you're coming with something that people have not really looked at it that way. We're not looking at anything different. We are all about Kitab and Sunnah. We're all about Kitab and Sunnah. We're not about anything different. It's just that in the current political religious environment, we are limited to what's allowable by the group thought to engage. You can't engage in certain things because it's going against the group thought. It could be going against the national narrative. You're making people uneasy. You're making Kafirs uneasy, Christians uneasy. You're messing stuff up, talking too much truth. But what I'm saying is that the Islam that we want, the Islam that we converted to, the Islam that's the real Islam, is not the showboat Islam. It's not the get your green card citizenship, we just like you Islam. It's not that we taking our Quran, we taking our Sunnah, or we taking all the Sunnah. We use no hadith, or we only going to use certain verses, blah blah blah. And you know what? We're going to change roles and stuff in the family, men, women, and all this kind of stuff. That's not Islam. That's not the Islam people signed up for. But all of these changes and infractions in our religious thought, it affects our psychology, our moral psychology. But so we have to hash it out. So this was video 1, volume 1, Imam Luqman Ahmed, Black American Moral Psychology. Black American Muslim moral psychology. We're still working on it, but this is a discipline, a scholarly discipline. But it's not just for scholars. You know, scholarly discipline, when it came about, or understanding of things in the religion, it wasn't just the theoretical aspect of it. It was, okay, this is going to be actionable knowledge. We're going to take it in act. For example, I'll give you an example of moral psychology. Right after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, okay, they had Arab tribes like straight saying, guess what, prophets did, guess what, man, we out. Or, we Muslim, but guess what, we ain't giving up that zakat. We will give up the money to the prophet. You're not the prophet, it gets no money. Okay? But at the same time, you had Musaylima al-Kadhab. You had that issue. He was a false prophet. And Yemen talk about he's Rasulullah. Now the prophet's dead, so he had a following. He had a following. So he was like, dude, I'm the Rasulullah too, right? I ain't got following. So that wasn't, so some Sahaba are saying, man, we need to take care of this dude. Because the prophet is dead now. And he said, no, we can't have this, because they were with the prophet. They know he was the true prophet of God. Abu Bakr was like, hey, man, We need to get these jokers not paying their zakat because we cannot allow, first of all, them to not pay the zakat because we need the money. And not somebody, but this is part of the deen. Let's not play with it. I'm the caliph, you the zakat. But also, we cannot allow. I'm not saying he said this because I don't know any authority he said it, but I'm just saying just the thinking. Look at the thinking of the Prophet. He was his closest companion. He had the he was the afdal after Rasulullah sallallahu according to Jamir al-ulama. The best one after Rasul alayhi salatu salam bi-ijma' of the Sunni part of this ummah is Abu Bakr. Without doubt. The afdal. No khilaf. After that, Umar ibn Khattab. No khilaf. No difference of opinion. No, none. Now, there's opinion when it comes to Uthman and Ali. That's another topic. So I'm saying this is what you would suppose would be his mentality. Not only y'all giving the zakat because it's part of the foundation of Deen, Bunni Islam ala khams, and I am the Khalifa from his perspective, but also the fact that you cannot allow a situation within the group thought, you understand? Within the group thought of the people who were in the Arabian Peninsula, who was under the rule of Abu Bakr, in the shaky beginning of the state, you cannot allow that people even think that it's permissible for you to withhold the zakat homes. Because then that would be, just imagine, everybody to this day, Muslims know, got to pay some zakat somewhere, somebody. Everybody knows that. We don't know how much. And people used to come to me and say, man, this is what I got, but try to figure it out. And they have software programs, but there's not a Muslim alive who says, no, we don't know no zakat in Islam. Okay? So our moral psychology with respect to zakat, now, how respect who gives, that's another thing, and that's politics and that. But there's no Muslim who does not believe that zakat is a part of Islam, without a doubt. Okay? So our moral psychology as far as zakat, now you pay it. Now, how it works out, politics get in. So Abu Bakr could not have allowed that. Because maybe if he would have prioritized the Musaylima thing, he had prioritized the Musaylima al-Kadhab campaign over the Mani al-Zakat and the people who were leaving Islam, that we might have had a different understanding altogether. Okay? So anyway, that's just to give you an idea of what we mean. But we want to get to the nitty-gritty of where our moral psychology of Black American Muslims, where it has been skewed, where it has been corrupted, where it's aiming at us, and where it's not what we signed up for, and what the heck it is. Okay? Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.